Hello, geeks, freaks, and all those unique. This is MC Frodus, and it's finally here! Since I've gotten into the Star Trek fandom, a love that has only grown over time, I've been waiting for Strange New Worlds, and it's finally happening! I wanted to do reviews of Strange New Worlds, but then thinking about it, is that really necessary? We've already had 1,000,005 people do that, so adding me as just another voice didn't really appeal to me. But you know what does appeal to me? Digging in deep into stuff. Instead of giving an episode synopsis and review, I wanted to delve into one or two elements of each episode in whatever way I feel like rambling about. So the two elements I'd like to get into for this episode are the two central characters, Captain Christopher Pike and Lieutenant Spock. While we've been told repeatedly that Strange New Worlds is an episodic show, I think the first scenes of these two are going to be essential for the show going forward. We might not have an ongoing story arc, but we are going to have character arcs. These two characters stand out in episode 1 as our main focuses, both because they're the most recognizable characters, and right from moment 1 they have character arcs to establish that not only cement who they are at that moment in time, but intertwine with one another for the story going forward. I think it would be really easy just to say that Pike is depressed about finding out about his fate, but I think it's a lot more complicated than that. Depression is definitely a part of it, but I think Pike is going through Kubler-Ross's stages of grief. Now, these stages are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. They can be manifested in any order, and you don't always experience everyone, and they can also co-manifest. And I think that's the case with Pike, as he's kind of experiencing them all at once. Pike has pretty much accepted that there's nothing that can be done about his fate. He did that the moment he made the choice to take the time crystal. But that doesn't make the other stages any less potent for him, because at the same time, he's speaking about his denial of what's going to happen. Deep down, he believes that there's something that can be done to remain the man that he is now. He also bargains with himself. He wonders if he actually has longer than he thinks. If 7 years is a longer time than his mind is telling him that it is. Denial and bargaining also come through on Pike when he's isolating himself in his cabin. He could be overseeing Enterprise's repairs or going on the first contact mission with Number 1, but he pulls away from Starfleet because it's Starfleet that will cause his eventual accident. Doing that ironically does what Pike is worried his accident will do. It stops him from being the man he is. Christopher Pike is the captain, and that's what he is meant to be, and he can't hide from that part of himself. Probably the thing that has received the most attention when it comes to Pike is the ableism present in his storyline, and I 1000% agree that it definitely could have been handled better in the 60s and even now. But to an extent, I can understand why Pike keeps talking about his death instead of his accident. This is Pike's anger coming out. And ableist or no, being in an accident that takes away your ability to do what you've always been able to do is something humans need to process through grief. Pike says that this is his death because it's his anger towards the situation. He's mad that it's going to happen. He's mad that he's made the choice twice over. He first makes the choice to try to save those officers and exposes himself to the Delta radiation. And then he first chooses to take the time crystal on Borath, which actually cements his fate to do the thing that he did before, because it's happening. It has happened. It's always happening. Time stuff makes me get a headache, and I love Doctor Who. So he's angry with all of this, and Pike feels responsible for everything that happened himself. Pike himself robs himself of the ability to be the captain because he's too much of the captain not to save all of those people. And even when he has the choice twice, he's going to choose to do it. So moving on from Pike to Spock. Did you really think I was going to be able to resist talking about Spock being DTF? I do that so much, I might have to add it to the banner of this channel. In Spock's opening scene, we see him with T'Pring, and everything we knew about Amok Time is turned on its head. We thought that Spock hadn't seen T'Pring since childhood, but it turns out that not only did they see each other, they were in a serious sexual relationship. Did not see that one coming at all. The more I think about it, it makes perfect sense. It goes along with Pike's storyline, and I have a feeling where it's going. Granted, we do know ultimately where it's going is T'Pring being a boss-ass bitch and telling Spock to go fuck himself because she's quite happy fucking Stonn instead. But I'm left with the question, how does Spock fuck this up? I don't think we're going to go with something as simple as because he went away on the Enterprise. Certainly that's a factor, but there has to be more. I think what it comes down to is that Spock has gotten into this relationship in the completely wrong headspace. He talks openly to Pike about the weight of the loss of Michael. Our boy is heartbroken, and what does any heartbroken person do? They get into an ill-advised relationship and cut their own bangs. I don't think Spock was seeing T'Pring prior to Discovery Season 2. He spent quite a long time having a substantial nervous breakdown, and it seems unlikely romance was on the docket. But it makes perfect sense that Spock would pursue T'Pring afterwards. Why? Because Michael told him to.
Find that person who seems farthest from you. And reach for them.
The thing Michael didn't take into account was that Spock is just a mess of emotions right now, caused very much by losing her. And he knows that. He said it. He said it to Pike. So to him, the person who's furthest to him right now is a Vulcan woman who Spock himself says is flawlessly logical. Spock is also already bonded to T'Pring, so they have a connection to one another. He's desperate to gain that close connection to someone that he feels he's lost with Michael now gone. But Spock isn't coming into this relationship in the right headspace. He's grieving, which is not a good time to be making a huge decision like this. He also doesn't seem to be at all interested in making any concessions for T'Pring. She makes it pretty clear that she's very happy to be on Vulcan and doesn't want to leave. But that's not what Spock wants. He is content, as T'Pring says, to gallivant around the galaxy. While Spock may say that his duty and their matrimony will enhance one another, he's only talking about it enhancing things for him. He's expecting T'Pring to just wait at home for him until he gets lonely. And he doesn't even have the decency to let Pike go to voicemail while he at least brings her off once. I'm sure T'Pring will show up in future episodes, and we'll find out more what's up with her thinking and her relationship with Spock. But even right now from episode 1, I can't say I blame her for what happens later on. We already know by the timeline that there's someone who's turning up in Spock's future. His past. His future past. Layla Kalomi has to cross paths with Spock at some point between now and Amok time. So are we really going to give T'Pring grief for finding some companionship with Stonn? I will give her grief for the whole manscaping situation, though. We've seen Ethan Peck's Spock with chest hair, and Nimoy has his infamous carpet of virility, so I can only assume the smooth-chested look was to please T'Pring, and fucking no. I find this whole plot with Spock and T'Pring interesting because it takes things from this childhood betrothal that neither of them wanted to Spock being T'Pring's ex who gets pissy that she's moved on. I said Spock and Pike's introductions are connected, and obviously they're both introduced in romantic situations with women. They're also using these relationships as a way to avoid unpleasant feelings stemming from the end of Discovery Season 2. The difference between them is that Pike's relationship is kept casual. While Pike and Batel seem like they really like each other, I don't get the impression that it's more than a casual romance. They're both captains, and the captain's first love is always going to be that chair. Meanwhile, Spock is trying to gallop forth as quickly as possible in his relationship with T'Pring, no matter how ill-advised. There's an even bigger dissonance in these two relationships, and that's how they interact with one another. Batel tries to probe into what's going on with Chris and actually help him out. They might not have a deep romantic relationship. It might be more of a friends with benefits situation. But Batel really cares about what's going on with him. Meanwhile, everything with Spock and T'Pring is pretty much the Vulcan equivalent of fighting, as she snipes at him about his career, and Spock is utterly incapable of taking T'Pring's annoyances into account. They're having a romance with each other, but everything is very ceremonial, and the actual emotions feel very put on, like they're doing what's expected of them rather than what they're actually feeling. It's going to be the fallout of Discovery Season 2 that follows Pike and Spock through Season 1 of Strange New Worlds. Pike needs to come to terms with what exactly his future holds, while Spock has to figure out exactly what Michael's final advice to him meant. Both of these things are things that we, the audience, know the outcome of. But that's the whole point of this show. Fitting for a show about exploration, Strange New Worlds is about the journey and not the destination. So just a quick rating of the episode, because of course I have to give a mini review. 10 out of 10, one of my favorite premieres, if not my favorite. I'm so happy with this episode. However, having said that, I really hope the next episode delves into other characters. While I didn't talk about La'an in this particular little dive, she's the only character other than Spock and Pike that get any real development in this episode. And I hope each episode focuses on a different character so that we can break down aspects of their arc. And honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if they do that with everything being episodic. I just really hope that we don't do too many of them on Pike and Spock. As much as I love them and think their arcs are interesting, I really want to look at the new and less explored characters. So comment down below with your thoughts on Strange New Worlds Episode 1. What do you think about my dive into Pike and Spock? So if you like my videos, subscribe to my channel, and if you want to support me, please visit my Patreon where you can get lots of rewards. You can also buy me a coffee, or you can go to my Redbubble and TeePublic to buy my geeky graphic designs. So until next time, live long, and may the Force be with you.